Okay, so what we are going to do today in these 3 hours is first we are going to proceed with the, let's say, theoretical topics that you will then apply, of course, in the assignments. And that's the first hour. The second hour, instead, is what we called supervised work group, which means that for the entire hours, if, and I will give you more detail after, but if you have any like questions, things you are stuck with, etc., in the 3 slots of lab, it doesn't matter now who is the teacher of your team, we can talk about it so that you can proceed, like a generic overall lab hour for everyone in the second hour. And I will give you, let's say, ordered list of priority of groups I will talk first. So in a sense, the one that are not yet doing the interview, for instance, will have priority with respect to the one that are already doing the interviews. No? This is, again, independently from the lab slot you are in. But first, let's talk about analyzing and synthesizing the output of need finding. So before starting, as often, let's do the Hall of Fame or the shame, but in this case, the user needs edition. Because you are the end of assignment 1, you will need to derive some user needs. So this is a way for you to, let's say, recognize good or bad user needs and why they are good or bad. So I will show you one user need at a time, taken from this course, past editions, plural, of bad or not so good, or even good, actually, because also Hall of Fame, user needs that came from groups of students like you. And together we will understand if it's more Hall of Fame or Hall of Shame. With 2 things to keep in mind. The first one is that the description of needs from assignment 1, which is similar to what I told you in class, so nothing new. In doing your user needs, but also in reading this one, keep in mind that needs are human, emotional, or physical necessities, are verb, not noun, because nouns are solutions, verb are activities, are things you can help with. And it can be helpful to use the phrase users needs a way to do something, or user need to be able to do something while listing your needs. Because in this way, it's harder, not impossible, but harder to complete the sentence with a solution. It's possible, but it's a little bit less immediate. And the second thing to keep in mind is that in the needs I'm listing here, we are totally missing the context, the domain, the interview, whatever was happening before. I can try to remember something, but I cannot guarantee that 100% will be able to. So let's consider the need, knowing that maybe in some context something could work a little bit better or a little bit worse, but let's try to consider it as they are written, thinking at possible context where they stand for. And if I can remember, I will tell you. Okay? So this is a mix of something that is obviously bad, good, etc. Are you ready? Yes. So, first one. Is it a need or not? I started with the easy one, so if you don't know the easy one, it's not good. Is this a need or not? Who say yes? Who say no? And there's always someone that is like abstain, but let's not focus on those. Yes, this is not a need. That's the example we made in class. It's not a need because a faster horse is a solution. And we have discussed how you can go deep behind this solution and maybe imagine a need, which is something you might need to do after your interviews, because maybe you formalize it from the interviews in a format like this, and so you can ask yourself, wait a minute, there is something behind this, or we already arrived, we already stopped here. And if there is something behind, knowing the context of your interview, you can go deep and see if there is a need behind it. So more generic. Okay, second one. Is this a need or not? User need to have financial help. Who say this is a need or a good need? Who say is not? And the others, which are the third option? Who say I don't know? So why this is, so someone said it is a need? No. Why this is not a need according to who's to say it is not? Because, yeah, this is a solution actually, right? Because it's written like a need to have, but financial help is a noun. I need financial support. It's not a verb. It's not an activity. It's not something someone, well, you can help with providing financial help, but also you can help providing a faster horse. Is the same thing. In this context, I'm trying to remember, this was medical doctors in learning how to do some medical things, I don't remember exactly what, and they would need to have financial help to buy more things, to try to experiment with techniques, with methods, because they cannot try and make mistakes on people, so they need like equipment. So what emerged from the interview in this context was that with more money we can get more things, which is reasonable, but what is the need behind it? But remember, in the interview, people can only describe things in their own language, in their own experience. So in their own experience, I have 3 pieces of equipment, and if I need a 4th, I need to buy a 4th, because I need 4 actually, I need 5, I need 6 for an entire class. So they describe it as I need more material, and how you get more material? Well, I buy material. So what is the need instead behind this? Because I think here there is a clear need behind this with this specific context. Access more material, slightly better, but still access more material is, I can ask how. Yes, you can buy material, so you can access more material, you can borrow material, it's a little bit better, but it's probably not already there. Why you need to access more material? Why you need to buy more equipment? To? Yes, to learn, but to? Yes, but to practice. So the need was, in this case, more closer, going by memory. User needs to practice more practice is a verb. So practice more. How they can practice more? Well, financial help to buy things, borrowing material, creating a virtual reality equipment to practice more. There are multiple solutions out of the need practicing more, which include financial help. And financial help does include borrowing material, does include virtual reality artifacts to experiment more for free. So there was a need behind it, and you cannot know just by reading this, but you can know because you are, if it's your interview, if it's your need finding, you can know because you have the interviews, you have the context. So in this case, as I told you, this is financial help to buy more material. And why they need to buy more material? Because they need to practice more. So the second, the reason behind was practicing more. So this is next step. Okay, well, we covered this already. Is this a need or not? Yes, okay. Again, you can implement these solutions in multiple ways. So, makes sense. From the faster horse to the car to the train to the airplane to teleportation, whatever makes sense for moving faster. Is this a need? User needs to have more tools. I don't remember the domain, but who say this is a need? Who say maybe? Who say no? Okay, yeah. More tools is user needs more tools. Is written in a way that sounds like a need. Like user needs to be able to have more tools, but you can just shorten the sentence, user needs more tools. To have is just there to make it sounds like a verb, but it's not. So pay attention, because some of you would write something like this, just by experience. Users needs to practice more with the appropriate tool. Again, we don't know the context. I have no idea of the context of this, but this is like sort of a need or not? Who say yes? Who say no? Oh, interesting. Why not?
Well, practice more is like a solution to another need.
Which is the need behind practice?
Like they need to get higher grades.
That's a need. Yeah, it could be a need in some context, of course, getting higher grades for like financial hardship, etc. But this is okay. I don't know before. What is the goal? What could be the goal?
If I want to become a better musician, I can practice more. This is a solution. Or I can find a better teacher. This is another solution.
Okay. The other no? Well, there were 3 people raising the hand. I missed one now. Who was the third one? Change his mind. Okay, so for the first one, actually probably not. I can, well, for both answers. So this is a need. This could be a need, except the context. So for your answer, for the second answer, of course the context matter. That's why this beware. We are missing the general context, because in some contexts, actually this could be more like a solution, and there could be a need, a stronger need behind it or not. Depends. In your example, this is still a need, I think. That could be just stronger as a need. So again, asking if there is something behind it could be a good idea, but it depends on the context. If we are in the context that he was saying is totally different. In the case, I don't need to practice more, I need to get a better score, I can also say that is the opposite. I need to practice more to get better score. So the need is actually practice more, and the get better score is that the result of practicing more. But again, it depends from the context, right? Because the student context, or like financial hardship for getting better score so that they can have a scholarship, and if it's like a fully theoretical class, you don't need to practice more. You probably need to practice less to get better score. So the context is actually very important here. Without knowing the context, this could be a need. Because there is a verb, it's practice more, and there's also a detail that is with appropriate tool. Just not practice more randomly, but practice more with like the right tools. This could be the need behind the user need to have financial help that I was describing before. I don't need more equipment, I need to practice more with the right equipment, with appropriate equipment. So that could be the need behind that example, okay? User needs to be able to run faster. This is written like a need, no? Because run is a verb. Is this a need? Who say this is not a need? Who say this is a need? Okay. Why is not? Oh, well, sorry. Why is not is written as a need? Why is not, let's say, a wonderful need?
Okay, I think this is again solution, and it can be solution for like going one place to another faster, and this is like the solution is running faster, not a need.
Another no? Some yes. Some yes, this is a need.
I think it can be a need depending on the context. Again.
Of course.
Let's say that I bought new shoes. I call it shoes because I have to need to be able to run faster. And buying the shoes is a solution for that problem, and the need is to be able to run faster.
Other yes? Oh, there was a bunch of yes here. They disappeared. You said yes just by gut feeling. I feel this is a good need, but any other yes that wants to speak now and is not thinking or change their mind?
If I am a runner, I need to run faster in order to be a race or something like that. Maybe it's not a well-designed need, but
Okay, so this is trickier for the reason you said. So there are elements that say, you know, this is not a need because this is more a goal. And the goal is run faster. And so what is the need behind running faster? And then there is, of course, it depends on the context. In some contexts, this could be the need, and there would be multiple solutions to satisfy this need. This is trickier. This is more than others really focus on the context. So the context here was people who ran. There was understanding how people could start to run or continue to running, something like that. So they interviews runners, novice runner, expert runners, etc. And this was one need that the group wrote. People needs to run faster, and this was not a good need because they could. They asked them. Well, I asked them, but why do they need to run faster? Because of course what's behind the running faster, because sounds more like a goal. I need to run faster. To do what? Like you need a faster horse. To do what? What's the purpose of the faster horse? So this is written a need. Could be in some context a need. In the running context, this was not a good need, because the need was again actually more about practicing more, because they need to practice more, because their goal was, some of them was to run faster, but for other of them was to run longer, and so a better distance. So in the end, probably, I'm going to memory again, the need was again about practicing more with the appropriate tool, methods to either run faster, either longer, etc. But the goal of this exercise was, except for the easy need or easy not need listed here, also to point out to you, as you did properly, that the context is important. So I can read a need and have a gut feeling, as your colleague that left, if this is a need or not. And some of them are clearly needs, and others are clearly not needs. But for others, maybe they are, maybe they're not. And the one who can, let's say if they are or not, or convince me or the other teachers that they are or not, is tell me what happens, tell me the context, tell me which are the answer that brings you to this need. And so your assignment, you will need also to link the answers to the needs. So these needs come up from answer 1 to 3, for instance. And so that is easier to see if it's actually a need coming from the answer or not, or if there is something deep behind it. So when you write a need, remember to link to the context where they started. It's like, oh, it's answer number 3 of person 1, answer number 4 of person 2, and answer number 5 of person 3. And keep in mind the context. And ask yourself, okay, but why they tell me this? Because there was something behind it or not? And if not, it's probably you find a need. If it's yes, like the financial help case, why they need financial help? Oh, because they need to practice, they need more equipment. Okay, so why they need more equipment? Because they don't have time to practice with the few equipment that they have. Okay, so the need is that they need to practice more to be successful as doctors. So ask why after the need, but it should be grounded in the context that you have because you did the interview. So that should be grounded on data, information that you have, okay? Any question on this? Otherwise, we move on. Okay, so going into the actual lecture now, this is 1 hour lecture on the analysis part before moving further, more on the, let's say, design of things. That is about analysis. So analysis is actually about analysis and synthesizing. So analysis is a way for you to think about the information you get to derive needs, for instance, and more important, needs also tasks that people would like to accomplish with any potential solution you are going to create. And also to synthesize the results from the interview to show, to keep the point briefly on what you want to do and what you are going to propose in a solution. So the analysis is starting from the need finding, moving towards solutions, in a sense. So the goal of analyzing and synthesizing is creating design goals as a representation that is intermediate between the need and the answers and like the user interface design that you will conduct. And it's also a way to make user needs explicit, especially the synthesizing part. And it's also help you, especially the synthesized part, to think about and represent the interplay between what people do and what your solution will help them to achieve. And there are various ways to synthesize and analyze this information. But let's start from analyzing. This is not something we ask you to do specifically. We will ask you to create tasks in assignment 2. But the analysis of task is not something we ask you to do explicitly, but it could be helpful for you to reason on the next steps. So we already defined tasks in lecture 1 as a structured set of activities or high-level action that are required to achieve a goal. A task says what a person wants to do, not how the person do it, while describing a complete goal. If my goal is clean up this room, I can list a series of tasks that I can do to clean up. Not necessarily how those things operate, but what I need to do to complete, to reach that goal. And often, given a domain of interest, you have a mix of tasks of different complexity. You have 3, let's say, categories in a larger, let's say, scale. You have the simple tasks that are the common task or the introductory task. So it could be, again, tasks that are very, very common for the domain, clean up the house. A task that you have to do, well, if you need to clean up, what's the task that you have to do? That could be a simple task, a common task, or introductory task. You have to clean up a room in your home. What could be a task that you can do? Take out trash. This common, simple, introductory, short in time, that still could be considered part of cleaning up. On the other side, you have complex tasks that are the infrequent task, or the one for power user, or the one for extreme users, and these are or, not and, or. Example of complex task in cleaning up of a room. Let's focus on the infrequent. Reorder the wardrobe. Or change the clothes for changing for another season, so winter to summer. This is, again, could be a complex task because it's infrequent, and it's also more complex in a way than not throwing, getting out the bin. And then in the middle there are moderate tasks. Tasks could be a little bit less common or a little bit simple, introductory, but not yet complex or infrequent. And in assignment 2, I'm just projecting a little bit, we will ask you to create one simple, one moderate, and one complex task for your solution. That's why we talk about task now. So task analysis is actually a series of methods that are very interesting, but I just give you the idea. Is the study of how people perform the activities. So the aim of task analysis is to understand what people do, which are the steps or the subtasks, what they use, that are the artifacts, the same artifacts you may encounter in need finding, and how well they succeed, that are the success point, the pain points, the goals, etc. So all the 3 things, you can meet them in need finding as well. You can, observing a process, understand which are the steps, understand which are the artifacts, and understand which are the goals and the pain points, what works and what not works. But if the activity is more specific, like cleaning up a room, you can actually write down a series of steps and a series of equipment that you need, and you can pass it to another person that never cleaned up a room, or a robot, and say, okay, do this again, follow the steps, follow this, using this material, and keep an eye on this success and pain points. So let's use the example of cleaning up the house, and let's consider the steps. So steps can also be seen as micro tasks, subtasks. So not high level, but small level, well-defined level. And let's consider these 5 steps. One is get the vacuum cleaner out. The second is fix the appropriate attachment. The third is cleanse the rooms. The fourth is when the dust bag get full, empty. And then the final one is put the vacuum cleaner and tools away. So what you can notice in this list? You should notice, I think, at least two different things. But these are steps, so not task, so it's fine.
Yes. We don't always.
When the dust bag is full. So no, you don't always, because it's when. Are they at the same level of like abstraction or not? Clean the room is a higher level of abstraction than get the vacuum cleaner out. So while get the vacuum cleaner out is probably already the smallest task you can do, because it's actually getting the vacuum cleaner out, clean the room is probably a task that could be divided in multiple steps, or in multiple also sub-steps. Maybe clean the kitchen, clean the living room, clean the entrance, and then clean the kitchen means other steps. The other things you can notice, you should notice, in the first, let's say, 3 steps, is there something missing as a step? Well, another thing is also turning on the water cleaner, the vacuum cleaner. Yes, assuming it's not battery powered, attach the plug to the wall. If you want to follow the steps in the same order, get the vacuum cleaner out, fix the appropriate attachment, if any, plug it, turn it on, and then start cleaning. Because otherwise, with a power off vacuum cleaner, you cannot really clean. You can do the action of cleaning or not. So this is a simple example, but think example with 2, let's say, issues in them. But think also if you already started to do interviews, or the interviews you did, and things if they describe you a process of what they do. Can you derive steps or not? And if you can, I'm not asking you to do it now or in general, but that could be helpful, especially for the domain which are more process oriented and which you maybe observe or interview about a specific process, like clean up the room, doing a lecture like this one, etc., etc., to understand which are the steps, because for each step you can notice that there is something missing, like turning on the device, and you can reflect, okay, but what can go wrong? So get the vacuum cleaner out. There is something that could wrong? Probably not. It's not very... turn it on could be something that could wrong. Yes, it cannot, maybe it doesn't turn on. Why? Well, did you touch it to the power? Yes. Okay. So you can reflect on the steps of the process to see if there is something you have missed. Now again, this is clean the house is a very simple example, but in other processes, reasoning on this could help you to understand if you're missing something or not. Actually, if you think to this list, point number 4 could also be moved before. So get a vacuum cleaner, check if the bag is full, and if it's full, empty it, and then turn it on. So also things could be moved. Again, thinking about the process, dividing the process in subtask steps could also help you to see if there are pain points, goals, etc. And again, to do the steps, you also must know and use different artifacts. So you need to know, your user needs to know, and it's also part of the language that your future solution can use. So if you're doing a solution for cleaning up the house, you can use words like vacuum cleaner, attachment, dust bag, cupboards, rooms, etc., without needing to explain that to people, because it's your domain. It's what you observed, what you processed. And then the goal is instead the part that's actually probably more interesting, and is where the point of view comes from or comes in. So which could be the goal for cleaning the house? To clean the house is like the task. I want to clean the house. And how to do this? Subtask or steps. The goal is why? Because I have guests for dinner. That's a goal. I want to clean house because I have like medium level goal, that is because I have a guest, and that having guests also brings with me other tasks. Like if I have guests, I have also to do dinner, or to order dinner, or to do something else, not cleaning. Another goal. Because you want to move out or move in, so you clean house because and then there are other tasks after that. Also quite a high level goal. Some narrow view, like more essential. You want to remove dust. You want to remove dust. It's a narrow goal. It's a very specific low level goal. I want to remove dust. But this is where the perspective or the story from the interview, from your idea of any solutions in multiple places could come in. So if you think a solution with a narrow goal, removing dust, you will focus maybe on the vacuum cleaner and how efficient the vacuum cleaner is, how well the vacuum cleaner is, because you are focused on removing dust as best as possible. If you're focusing on hosting people for dinner, you maybe are less interested in the performance of the vacuum cleaner, but more on a series of things that help you hosting people for dinner, which include dinner, which include maybe some games after dinner, some TV movies, some tidying up the couch, which is not removing dust, is also making order in the room. And maybe it's not the entire house, maybe it's just where these people will be around. Or you can have a wide goal, like having a satisfying evening. That's whatever it means. But this brings consequences, this brings other things in the game as the goal. Also, pain points could be something you can think if you think of steps, if you think of action within a process. Like the pain points, if you want to create a better vacuum cleaner, for instance, a narrow version of a pain point could be why I need to empty the dust bag. I mean, that's something would be likely to not empty. It's auto emptying on its own, which is possible. It's removing a step. And this is a narrow version, similar to the goal. And then a broader version, if you want to imagine solutions that are more, let's say, innovative, is why I need a vacuum cleaner in the first place. Why I cannot have a self-cleaning house, for instance. Narrow version, I will propose a solution of a vacuum cleaner that automatically empties the dust bag. Broader version, I can be not be engineer the horse in this case, but I can create a smart home that cleans itself. Two solutions to the same process that is cleaning up the house. Focusing on two different narrow points, focusing on two different goals for which I do the task. So perspectives, let's say creativity in a way, that's coming. So what is a task exactly? A task, by definition, is a goal with some ordered set of action. Ordered because you cannot move the action and obtain the same task. The action is similar to the steps we have seen before, and the goal is, of course, the goal, the one that you bring your perspective with. So the goal, in this definition, is a state of the application domain, so the domain, not of a software, the domain that a work system wish to achieve. And it's specified, as we have seen before, a specific level of abstraction. It could be narrow, it could be wide, it could be something in the middle. A task is a structured set of activity required the user believed to be necessary by an agent, whatever the agent is. Could be a human, could be a computer, could be a software, a robot, to achieve a goal using a particular piece of technology, artifacts, machinery, etc. And the task is broken down into more and more detailed level of description until it's defined in terms of action, which are the basic level steps. Removing, opening the cupboard to get the vacuum cleaner. That could be the action. And an action is a task, a subtask, that has no problem solving associated with it, and which does not include any control structure. So it's not like when is empty, then do this. It's one level beyond. An action are simple tasks, the simplest task you can have. Open the cupboard, get the vacuum cleaner. These are the actions. And yet you can arrange this in tasks like clean up the room, clean up this room, and then the goal, clean up the house for dinner, for hosting people in dinner. So, but these should be and will need to be linked together. A task without a goal tells a story that is totally different than the same task with a totally different goal. Especially again, if you think, which will be the next step in this course, if you think about solutions, and not just analyzing of needs, but what you can do. So understanding the domain, understanding the goal of people, understanding which are the tasks can help you derive better solutions, which again will not be an app for, but solutions, a better vacuum cleaner in a way, a self-cleaning house, something at this level of abstraction. So if you do task analysis, like we exemplified in a simple way, you can learn what the user goals are, or can be, and what they are trying to achieve, what actually people do to achieve this goal, what experiences, social, personal, cultural, hosting people for a dinner, moving in, moving out of an house. It includes the different personal, social, and cultural experiences to the same task of cleaning up the house, how people influence the physical environment, and how their knowledge, previous knowledge and experience influence how they think about the things they need to do, the workflow they follow, the process they follow to perform the task, and the pain points, as we see in linked to goal, they experience in performing the task, or they can experience performing the tasks. So it's helpful for this reason. You can identify the task that your application, system, whatever must support. You can also refining or redefining if the tasks are not cleaning the house, but the task is around using the portale della didattica. You can define or redefine the navigation, search of the screens of your application. You can also get some requirement. Why I'm doing this? Which are the pain points? Is my goal wide or not? Etc. And is also useful to perform at the initial stage of prototyping, which will be next in the coming weeks. which we cover in the coming weeks. But also tasks are useful to perform usability testing, which is something we will do at the end of the course, and for which you will need to derive tasks and steps. Not doing a full proper task analysis, but think in terms of tasks, etc., for your application, for your final prototype. Which task this prototype will allow user to do, and how well. So again, task linked to action, linked to goal. And keep this in mind, because when you need to write a task, you will not need to write an action to the task, but you need to write the task. So cleaning up the house, create a new questionnaire, filling out a form, not clicking on the button. Clicking on the button is the action, it's not the task. Well, as I said, task analysis could fit after interview observation, and there are actually various techniques. We are not going to see any of them, but there are various techniques. The one that I sort of exemplified to you for cleaning the house is the task decomposition. Giving a task, let's create subtasks until we have just actions. And then there are knowledge-based techniques based on information, instruction, etc. And ethnography is also helpful for task analysis, of course, observation. You observe people and you write up what people are doing in which order, which are the tasks, the steps, the action, etc. And the goal, of course, as well. Of course, task analysis is easier when, as I said before, you have a process to follow, to observe, a workflow, planning a trip, cleaning up the house, learning financial education, etc. Or repeated activities. So activity that repeats multiple times, so it's also something you can imagine which part of this can be like skipped, automated, or simplified. So this task analysis will help a lot in this. The challenge is that we not design tasks, but system interfaces. And task and object doesn't map one-to-one. I can have one web application which support multiple tasks, and a task that needs multiple action to be completed within a web application. Also, the other challenge is that it depends from the goal. And where you can bring your perspective on the goal, where you can observe the goal from other people. Actually, different people can use the same interface, the same web application, the same mobile application to achieve slightly different results, or to do things differently from one to another, even if the same task, because it depends on the goal. And also, there could be multiple actions to reach that goal, that task. It's not that one task only have a predefined, fixed, ordered set of action to do it, especially with computer technology and application. I can have multiple ways to do the same thing. So these are challenges in task analysis, but if you have some real world or some well-defined application or some repeated activities, that's easier because it's reduced a challenge to think about tasks in the term that I told you. So task linked to goal, linked to steps or actions, if they are the lowest level of steps. Any question on this? Okay, so the message to bring home from this part is task analysis exists. Task exists as a definition. You will need to create tasks in 2 weeks. Yes. 3 tasks in 2 weeks for your solution. So keep in mind these slides, keep in mind how task is performed, and try not to do actions, but task when it's your time to create task. And also at the end of the course, you will need to create other tasks for your final prototype. So also this will be useful there. This was for analysis. Then for synthesis, I'm going to present one method that is not this, to synthesizing. This is something we are going to ask you in assignment 2 to express in a different way your task linked to your solution that you will create. That is not sketches, but is scenario. But sketches is one way to do scenarios, so let me tell you, if you don't know, what is a sketch. So a sketch is an individual drawing, single drawing, showing one piece of information. And this piece of information could be a single user interface screen, a drawing of an artifact which is part of the system, or the shape, like in this case, of an interaction object. It's like a picture, a photograph, but you draw it with more or less high quality. A sketch gives a static view of a possible interaction. It's like one comic, one part of a comic strip. Give a static view of possible interaction, but also help setting the context in which your solution, your interaction with happens, and are often part of a longer representation, which are, for instance, storyboards. So this is a sketch. Scenarios, instead, are stories for design, and it's something you use for describing a rich stories of interaction. And it's a description, as written here, how the user engage with the interactive system to solve a specific task, which is then helpful in a specific context towards a specific goal. You can have multiple formats to describe scenarios. You probably encountered already the written summary, the use case. These are like also say in the same family of user stories for those who do software engineering too. And then you also have the graphical format, which are storyboards. And you can also have scenarios in flowchart, transition diagram, etc. So everything that help you describe how things work together and people work with things together to solve a specific task. So level of details in scenarios, you can have, let's say, 3 levels of scenarios. One are stories from need finding, which are used to understand what people do and what they want. The other are conceptual, abstract scenario, which are used for generating idea, specify requirement, showing where your solution is inserted it and how it may work in like the real world. They are abstract tasks from stories. They have no reference to specific piece of technology, and they may lead to different concrete scenarios that are instead used for envisioning the ideas and evaluation, and are possible implementation, let's say, of the conceptual scenario, which are the designed scenario, and show how technologies are used in a specific context, and the key design features of any piece of technologies are included in them. So from the once upon a time, there was a person doing this and that, stories, up to this mobile application is done in this way with this key feature and is helpful for doing this. And then, yes, you have use cases that are used for specification implementation. Storyboard are a representation of scenarios, which has an emphasis, especially the abstract part, the conceptual part, which has an emphasis on how systems support users in reaching their goal in developing their task. And storyboard are composed of sketches. That's why that slide on sketches. And it's a graphical depiction of the outward appearance of a system without any system functionality, any specific system functionality. They are hand-drawn comics that feature the execution of one or more tasks with a few panel sequence of sketches that always includes people using technology. They communicate flow, showing what happens at a specific key moment in time, not every second, but specific key moment in time, like a comic strip. And it's not about having artistic skill, it's not about nice picture, nice drawing, it's about communicating idea in a way that is simple as possible. What a storyboard has. First of all, a storyboard is all about tasks. If a storyboard doesn't depict a task, it's probably a bad storyboard. You find your storyboard the goal that you want to illustrate, how the task unfold, meaning what people do with themselves, with devices, etc. And at the end, like a story, show how the people accomplish their goals. They live happily after all, the satisfactory outcome. So they have a goal, they are talking about tasks, one or more, show how the task unfold, and there is a conclusion that is typically the satisfactory outcome. So this is an example of a storyboard. What is storyboard about? What's happening in the storyboard? This is something like what you will need to do in assignment 2. So, first sketch. What happens in first sketch? Yes.
The user ends up working or doing his tasks, I think.
It's the end of a busy day, and then also is
It's not at home, so we have to.
it's not at home. It's not at home.
Yes.
So here you have a busy day. Better go home. So probably I'm in the office somewhere, and it's also there's just a clock that say that are 6 p.m. So it's evening. Give you context of the evening without saying it's evening. It's all black and white, so no color. Then what happens in the second sketch?
He's taking public transportation
To go home, we can imagine. So you don't see the person going out of the office, etc. You just see the other key moment. He is in the subway, and what's the problem in the subway for which the person is sad? No signal. Why not having a signal is a problem?
because he doesn't know what to do
Because
for dinner.
yeah, because he doesn't know what to have for dinner, so he planned to. So there is a problem. The problem is I didn't check before, and now in the subway I plan to look what I want to have for dinner, and I cannot. Solution of the problem. There is a smartphone that just light up, and the person now is happy and say it's on the subway now, so still without a mobile signal. And what happens?
That the app on his phone tells him what to eat for dinner and also the amount of calories that this.
Okay, so what you can learn from this story so far? What's this story about?
What to eat for dinner.
No, what's the product this story is about? A mobile app for
An offline product.
with no mobile signal for recipe with calories indicated. Then, but not only then, what happens? It's magically in another place. It's also a shop list because it say I need chicken, apples, etc. And instructions sounds like I can do that, so probably the apples are instructions. And then at the end, satisfactory outcome is eating the curried chicken, only 222 calories. So this is how a storyboard is made. There is a context, there is a problem, there is something that you don't see. Do you see which are the screens of this application? No, you know there is a mobile application because it's a mobile phone, sort of a mobile phone, it's not a laptop. So you know there is a mobile phone that is for suggesting recipes, that works without mobile signal, that does instruction and a recipe, and calories. Does it have times, like quick or long to be prepared recipes? Apparently not. So it's not one key feature they want to communicate. What's the task here that the storyboard is about? What's the task here? Or the tasks? Yes, cook dinner. Without ingredients at home, I would say, because otherwise you skip the grocery. Okay, next one. Still about food, but what happens here? So first, context. What happened in the context? Yeah, it's evening in front of the house, it's 8 p.m., supermarkets are closed. So the person come in, sit on the couch, and what happens? What's the problem again? What happens? Just read. It takes 45 minutes to deliver the pizza, and so this is the problem. So he decided to, it's too long, open the fridge and see that some veggies and feta, and let's see what he can make. And solution, your app in this case, an app that, which feature has this app? Yes, giving some ingredients, show you what you can make, and the amount of time. So different from before, from calories were maybe more important, and no mobile phone service. Here we don't care about mobile phone service, but we need not a recipe suggested, but I have these things in the house, tell me the recipe and tell me the time, so that in 15 minutes I can do it. And actually it also have calories because it's easy to make and only 350 calories. And then what happens after? Come on. Eat. So the successful results, but at which time? At 30, which is 30 minutes after he started the entire process. So the pizza would have made way more time than this, because he was already on the couch, so it was after 8. Once you have a solution, again, also in this case, you don't see the application. Well, you see the application, but you cannot, there is no button. You see that there is an application, and you understand what the application is doing according to what is happening in the story, okay? So these are, the 3 things the storyboard should convey, as in the example. Settings, who are the people involved, which are the environments, and which are the tasks to be accomplished. The sequence, not the detailed user interface or the user interface at all, but what role the user interface, the application play in helping user achieving their goal. Show what leads someone to use the system, the problem, what trigger the task, and the task, that is, of course, is illustrated, and then always a satisfaction. That is the motivation, the end results, and what happens if are satisfying or not. So these are the 3 steps that need to be covered in a storyboard. Storyboards are, of course, static, because they're made of static images, like a comic. So if you want to add dynamicity, like in the 2 example, you can use all the comic book convention, so actors, speech bubbles in some format, background like the clock, the subway, etc., to convey dynamicity and change of places. You can also have some notes attached to each scene to explain what's happening, if it's the convention are not enough, but most of the time the convention are enough. And this is what we are going to ask you in assignment 2. We're going to ask you to create a storyboard in the traditional storyboard type for your solution that you don't know yet. Then there are other two kinds of storyboards. One is score storyboard, in which you have colors, movements, much more complicated. And also text-only storyboard, in which you cannot depict the situation, but you will describe, like in a story, again, similar to the story we started before. Storyboard must be hand-drawn, because it's quick. You don't need to spend time with Photoshop or whatever, just picking a pencil and draw something. And it's quick, because if you make mistakes, you can quickly just throw it away or delete it in a matter of seconds. And so if you want, you're also able to experiment with different scenarios. Again, it's not about being precise. Indeed, the second point on why and draw is that they are imprecise by nature. So if you show a storyboard to a person, people typically feel free to experiment more comments and suggestion on something that is imprecise, deep suggestion on something that is imprecise, than on a more polished version with colors, etc. Because with colors, etc., we will see them in prototyping as well. People will start to say, oh, but I don't like this color, but why this is green, why this is contrast, etc. In black and white, you don't have all this observation. People can focus on the content for real, and no distraction, but the fonts, the color, the icons, the style, is manga style, is not manga style, whatever. Imprecise, hand-drawn, and quick to convey a message in an imprecise and not clean up way. If you need help to sketch people, these are 5 actually, kind of people you can draw. From the sticky people, that is the simplest one, to other kind. You can use also the star people, because the body is like a star, and then you put the head on the top instead of the 5th corner. And the star man also allow you to create movement if you want, like moving one part of the star or more the one part of the star. These are ways to sketching people, a suggestion when you will need to do it at a certain point. So the benefit of storyboard is emphasizing how an interface completes a task, focus on the conversation, focus on the task, focus on the goal, and not nitpicking about user interface detail, like, oh, here there is a button, here there is a navigation bar, here there is an image, etc. These things are helpful to decide after you have a convincing story, convincing task that can stay together in a coherent and cohesive way. Okay, any question on this? And then we will proceed, of course, with an example, an exercise on this next week. Any question on this? Okay, so a disclaimer from me. We typically do this lecture after what we are going to do now, but since we end at 7 p.m., I shifted we try as much as possible to shift the theory before the exercise, even if it makes no sense, like today. So now this is actually towards the end of assignment 1, towards assignment 2. Now let's focus on assignment 1 again. So let's move back a little bit. So what we're going to do in this hour is, I was saying, supervised work group. So let me stop the registration.